echo what AC said. I appreciate everybody coming here tonight, giving up your day. I know you guys are swamped with the Titans and everything, so I really appreciate you guys giving up some time to come here and visit with us. I think this is a pretty cool place, pretty cool thing to do here. So, again, just thanks for you guys coming out. And then we start Thursday. We report Thursday, August 1st, and then our first practice will be August 2nd, Friday there. We've had a really good off season. You know, spring was good. And then our summer program. We gave them a couple days off last week and today, and then we'll get back at it tomorrow and Wednesday. So I like where we're at from our team right now. Obviously, we've got still some question marks that we've got to get answered the next 4 weeks before the Michigan game. But I like where we're at. I think our leadership right now is better than what it was in January, and that was a concern of mine going in. I told our team there in January when we came back from the bowl game that, we lost a lot of good players, but more importantly, I thought we lost a lot of great leadership. We had some older guys on both sides of the ball that played a lot of football, and we needed our team to step up, individuals to step up from a leadership standpoint, and they've done that. I still think we got a ways to go. We've got to continue to create and formulate our identity, what our identity is going to be this year. And but I got a good feel for this team. You guys know the schedule that we play, opening up with Michigan. It just amps up the intensity or the what you have to do to be ready to play that game. You don't get a preseason game like the NFL does and all that. So we got to be ready to roll coming out of the blocks. But I like our team, where we're at. Like I said, we got to get some questions answered here these next few weeks, and I feel confident that we'll be able to do that. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions that you guys may have.
Coach, can you just kind of expand on how the offseason was? Did you guys change anything this offseason? Kind of code to par? How did it go?
When you say change anything, are you talking about schematically or how we prepared from a condition standpoint? Obviously you're always going to tweak things and you try to do things better than what you did last year. So I guess from a schematic standpoint, you look at, we're going to be breaking in a new quarterback, and so we want to make sure that we give whoever that quarterback is the best opportunity to be successful and not put too much on his plate, especially early. So we'll rely on some people around him, our other players, our running backs, our receivers, our offensive line, everybody, our defense. Guys have got to elevate their game, especially, early, because you're breaking in a guy that's, if it's Randall, he's never played a Division I snap. If it's Chase, he mopped up games last year. If it's Asher, he played the second half of one game. So guys there's guys that are going to go into the Michigan game that have really not played much Division I football. So we're going to try to simplify things as much as we can to make it easy for our quarterback so he can play fast and play relaxed and play confidently. And then, I think, you have to ask the players, but I think we our conditioning program this summer was we probably conditioned a little bit more or ran a little bit more than what we did last year because of, we've got so many new guys. I wanted to make sure we reported in great shape, and I think we are. I think we will report in better shape this year than we did last year. And that's not to say that we were not in shape or condition last year, because we were. But, we did a little bit more running this year than what we did in the past.
You've, over the course of your coaching career, have had times when you opened with an FCS team. You've had times when you opened with a team from one of the Power Five conferences. When you have a challenge like this, and again, not to slight the FCS teams because an FCS team can beat an FBS team, but this is a big challenge when you know all summer that game one you've got to be ready because you're going up there and it's going to be a tough game against a big team. Do you like that challenge? How do you feel about that compared to some years when you maybe have been able to play a team that you get, again?
Yeah, it's a great question. Michigan will probably be a top 5 team, when the votes come out next week. They'll probably be a top 5 team. Every season, every team is different. In our situation right now, I wish we were not opening up with Michigan. You're breaking in a new quarterback, and you wish, that his first college start didn't have to be in front of 150,000 people. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to, that we're going to back down or all that kind of stuff. We're going to go up there and play. We're going to compete our tails off and not back down from those guys. But in this situation, you're breaking in a new quarterback, so that just amplifies the importance of these 25 practices, these first 3 weeks of 4 weeks of camp. That there's not a whole lot of margin, a whole lot of room for error, when you play all these Power 5 guys.
Coach, obviously you're losing a great quarterback, but you've lost a guy that you trust a lot. Obviously, it's hard to bring back the trust that you've had with your son, but how do you start to build on that with some of these new quarterbacks?
Again, really good question there. And I've said it a couple times this week as a coach, and I believe this at any level, high school, college, or pro, you want to know what you're going to get out of your players, and especially the quarterback position. And we had that comfort level, for 4 years with Brent that you knew what you're going to get. And we don't have that right now, and you're not going to get that sense until you play games and you go through practices and you see the quarterbacks in, difficult, stressful situations and pressure situations. So, we'll learn as we go through August. We'll learn as this season goes along, developing that trust and that relationship that you get, from a head coach to a quarterback to offensive coordinator to your quarterback. You develop that trust and you figure out, what he can do best, where you're going to try to help him and, get him out of maybe not this play call and keep him in these play calls. So it's not going to happen. It takes time. It takes time for that to develop. And but I like all 3 of these guys. They're all 3 hard workers. They're good guys. They just haven't played any. And we'll develop that trust and figure out what they can and can't do as we go through this year.
Hey, Coach, I know each year is a different year, but talk about team identity. Is that something that you try to shape, or is that something that you depend on your players to form as you move through these first practices?
Again, a little bit of both, and to me it starts back in January, and I talk to them about, the 4 phases of forming our identity. You have your winter workout program where it starts, then you got spring practice, then you've got your summer conditioning, and then you have, basically 3 weeks in August to form your identity. And I'd like for our identity to be a toughness. That's part of our identity, is being a tough, hard-nosed, competitive, physical football team, and so as a coach, you try to put your team into those positions or those situations, and then you hope they respond to it, that they can form the toughness part of their identity. So that's all. I think it goes hand in hand, and just the effort, the competitiveness, the never give up, the never quit attitude that you form as your team. All those intangibles, being able to do this defensively or being able to do this offensively or in the kicking game, that's part of it. But to me, the intangibles from a toughness and a competitiveness, a leadership, just the never give up attitude, that's what I hope we find in August.
Coach, you've talked about the leadership that has developed a little bit since January throughout the spring and the summer. How much of that comes from a program that's now gone to 4 straight bowl games, and I think it's 5 and 6 or whatever it is, and just seeing the guys who've come before and the standard that they've set and wanting to live up to that?
Yeah, I hope it's a lot. I hope that, our guys, never feel entitled. Anytime you become entitled in any position, your job, my job, anything, that's, when you get somebody's going to pass you by. So our players know they have to earn everything they get. Nobody's going to hand them anything. And we want to continue what, Brent and Darius and Chandler and all these guys, KB, all the guys before them, Octavius, Richie, Benny Cunningham, all those guys that have worked to put us in a position where we are, the foundation of this program. You hope the Reeds and the Terrells and the Javantes and, the Khalil Brooks, those guys, they want to continue this legacy and, continue to work and put Middle Tennessee, in a national light that these guys before them have already done.
Speaking of a guy before them, Kevin Byard is the highest paid safety in NFL history. What do you think when you hear that?
One, I'm very happy for him. I'm happy for his family. But more importantly, I'm proud of him. I'm so proud of him and what he's done from when he walked on our campus, 8 years, 9 years ago now, the man he's become, he hasn't changed. His work ethic, how he prepares for the Titans, was the same way what he did when he was with us. And just, I'm sure he had a chip on his shoulder to something to prove when he walked into our place. And most of our guys have that because 99% of them weren't offered by Power 5 guys. A couple of them may have been, but, not many. And so he had that chip on his shoulder to prove, that I'm a good football player. And, I'm glad the Power 5 guys didn't recruit him. I'm glad the Power 5 guys didn't recruit a lot of our players. So, so he proved people wrong here. He led the country in interceptions, and now he's leading the NFL in interceptions. And, coming out of Middle Tennessee, people had question marks about him. Is he fast enough? Is he this? He didn't go to the combine. Is he that? But when John Robinson and, the coaching staff at that time came to visit us, I told them about the intangibles, the things that you don't see on film, how hard he works, how hard he studies, what a great leader he is, how he takes care of his body, how he is, off the field. And what I told him is what he's done with the Titans. So I'm just really proud of him. I'm happy for him. Nobody deserves it more than him, and I hope he, one, has a healthy year, and two, I hope he has the best year of his NFL life. I'm really proud of him, and the Titans ought to be happy that they've got him, and the city of Nashville ought to be happy that they can come watch him play and practice.
Coach, how about the Blankenship kid? What kind of football player is he?
He's all right, solid, pretty decent. Now Reed is a really good football player. He's a really smart player. He's athletic, and when we recruited him, he could have played for us at wide receiver. He could have played for us, at defense, and he's doing that. So he's a very talented kid. He's got a tremendous work ethic. He studies the game. He works the game. He's a tough kid, tough young man. He's not a kid. He's a tough young man. Played through some injuries last year and then had surgery after the season. So I have a lot of respect for Reed and, what he means, to this program and to this football team. So a ton of respect for him.
Coach, back to Kevin. How often do you mention him to a recruit or even to your team of what a student athlete should be at Middle Tennessee?
You know, a lot. You know, I say it all the time in recruiting that you can accomplish all your goals here at Middle Tennessee just like you can anywhere else. And you want to graduate, we're graduating them at 97%. You want to play in the NFL, we got a bunch of guys playing in the NFL. You want to go to bowls, play for championships, we're doing everything that everybody else is, so you can accomplish what your goals here. And so I say that, but, I talked to our team a lot about Brian Dawkins. I coached and recruited Doc at Clemson. And, I use the examples of Doc, how focused and how he practiced what he did at Clemson, and to be able to play for 13 years or 14 years in the NFL. And I told him before he was in the Hall of Fame, I said, Doc will be in the Hall of Fame. And, Kevin listened to that, and we got other guys that listen to that too. So, now I can talk about Brian Dawkins. I can talk about, Kevin Byard in the same breath because they're very similar, played the same position. And we've had players, besides, Kevin that have had the Brian Dawkins work ethic and all that. So, but, I compare Doc a lot, I compare Kevin a lot to Brian Dawkins.
And I'm sure you're proud of your son and his new job. Just how did that come about, and what kind of coaching career does he have ahead of him?
Brent's coaching at FAU. He's a quality control guy down there with FAU, and I'm really excited to watch his future. I think he's got a chance to be special in this profession, and I'm not saying it because he's my son. I've been around a lot of young coaches, a lot of players that want to coach. It's been his passion for a long time, and I think he'll be a very fast climber in this profession. He's got what it takes. I think it'll be good for him to go out and hear a different voice. He's heard my voice for 23 years, 24 years, and I think it'll be good to hear another voice. And but I think he's got it, and hopefully one day we can coach together. And but I think he's on a track to move pretty quick up this ladder.
Coach, when we talked a few months ago, you mentioned the offensive line as being a unit you're really excited about despite the losses last year. What is it about that group that you're excited about, and how do you see them progressing over the next 4 weeks?
Well, there's a couple guys up there that have played, but there's a bunch of guys that haven't played. But the guys that, haven't played are athletic, they're tough. We got great leadership up there, so they continued to get better this summer. I'm anxious to see their improvement once we get started, this week. The guys coming back are good players, so if we can stay healthy up there, I think we got a chance to be a good unit. We lost, Pete Bohannon and, Chandler Brewer and Carlos and Ty Watkins. We lost some, good players up there, but, I just think that this group, is got something to them that, like I said, we got to stay healthy because, we got pretty good depth, but it's inexperienced depth. So, but I like our guys. We'll find out once we get cranked up, here at the end of the week, we'll find out for real. But, I like Will Gilchrist and Matt Martin and Marcus Greer and, those guys that, Angelo Owens, guys that haven't played much. I'm anxious to see what they can do.
Coach, last year you guys took a step forward in the turnover department defensively. This year, when your offense is implementing a new quarterback and whatnot, how crucial is it to keep that going this year?
It's the most critical stat there is. There's nothing more important. You can have 100 plays. You can have 600-700 yards of total offense. You can limit the other team to 100 yards of offense. But if you don't win the turnover battle, it's going to be hard to win games. And last year, 2017, we were not very good creating turnovers. We created, I think it was 11 turnovers, and that was a big emphasis by our defensive coaches and our defensive players last year. And last year we more than doubled it. We had 25, and that was the most turnovers that we created since 2015. We turned the ball over less last year since I think 2011 or 2012, something like that. So we did a great job of protecting the ball, and we did a great job of creating turnovers. So that's the number one thing. I talk more about that than anything. And our players have got to take it personally. If you handle the ball on offense, you got to treat it like it's your life. And then defensively, you got to treat it like I got it. The only way I'm going to breathe is if I get the ball. And it's got to be a tenacious attitude, just a violent desire to get to the ball. And, you're going to protect it at all costs, because there's no single stat that determines winning and losing more than that.
The other guy pictured up here is Ty Lee, obviously, is the nation's active leader in career receptions, especially given the uncertainty at quarterback. How important is it to find ways to get him the ball somehow, and the expectation for him to make plays to lead your offense?
Yeah, Ty has been a really productive player for us. He started as a freshman, and, I think he caught 40, 50 balls as a freshman. And last couple of years, he's, been up there in the 70s and 80s. So he's a really, really productive player. He's not a speed merchant, but he's got great football awareness. He's smart. He understands zones and getting in holes and settling and all that. He's really good after the catch. He's got good ball skills. He's put on a little bit of weight this summer. So we need him to have a good year. And I really believe he's worked harder this summer than he has, knowing it's his last go-round. So, he's a guy that we're going to lean on. And, we got good skill players offensively, and he's one of them.
You kind of just mentioned that. How important is it to have the skill players play at a really high level when you're implementing a new quarterback and some new offensive linemen?
Yeah, they don't have to be anything special, do anything more than, what they can. You'd like for them, to be able to play at a high level. But, we've got guys that have played a bunch of snaps now at the skill positions other than the quarterback. I like where we're at running back. We got guys that have played. Our receivers have all played. We got, Jaron Pierce, a new guy that just got here this summer. He's new, but, we've got older guys now at receiver that they need to step up. They need to, play and perform at the level that we expect them to, and at the level they're capable of playing at. And I think we've made some improvement at wide receiver. I think we're faster at receiver, this year than we were, than what we were last year and the year before. So we've created some speed there, and guys have got to play fast. And, like I said, our running backs, we got guys, Terrell and Chetan, and, Maurice Gordon's a senior now, really hadn't done anything since he's been here. It's time for him, to step up. And, Jay McDonald, the junior college guy we signed, was here in the spring. We'll see how he does in August. And, Brad Anderson's kind of been back and forth at receiver and running back. So we got guys that can play. It's just, now it's time to answer the bell.